Hey everybody, this is Scoots. I make a Sleep With Me podcast, and the stories here at Bedtime Stories from Sleep With Me are stories from our main show, Sleep With Me podcast. I only laugh because it's a lot of words, but if you really enjoy these bedtime stories from Sleep With Me, or if you're new, welcome, enjoy them. I hope you enjoy them. I hope they keep you company in the deep dark night, help you fall asleep. But if you really enjoy these stories, the best ways to help them keep it coming is to try out a subscription on Sleep With Me Plus at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus, or just let people know about bedtime stories from Sleep With Me. It's new. It's something we've never tested out before. And by sharing it, letting people know about it is a huge way to support it and to let other people know what you like about it. So I really appreciate it. And I'd love to hear from you. If you sign up for Sleep With Me Plus, even for a trial, I'll send you out a video and thanking you, and you can reply right to that video. Or you could always reach me through the contact page on our website. Those messages come straight to me. Thanks so much, and enjoy these bedtime stories from Sleep With Me. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the podcaster who thinks that, well, I don't think. Sweet dreams are not made of lulls, but enabled by sweet dreams, empowered by lulls. I was going to say maybe sweet should be used metaphorically or figuratively, because you say, well, not too sweet dreams. But soothing dreams are not made from lulls. But anyway, what am I talking about? Well, welcome to Sleep With Me. It's time for the podcast that puts you to sleep. And these sponsors are what enable us to be here for you for free twice a week. So please check them out tomorrow when your hand hits the fridge, sleepwithmepodcast.com/sponsors. Hey, everybody, this is Scooter. I make a Sleep With Me podcast, and that's where these stories come from, bedtime stories from Sleep With Me. And I hope they help you fall asleep. If you enjoy these, let people know about the show. Just share it when you share stuff. Hey, I really like these bedtime stories from Sleep With Me. Or you could always support the show on Sleep With Me Plus. That's how we're able to do this. You could sign up at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. You could test out a trial even. But if you value the content we make on Sleep With Me and here at Bedtime Stories from Sleep With Me, it's the most powerful way to make sure they're here and available for you now and in the future. And you can always let me know about it. When you sign up for Sleep With Me Plus, I send you a thank you video. You can reply right to that video, or you could get me through the contact page on our website, right at sleepwithmepodcast.com. So thank you so much, and good night. All right, everybody, this is Scoots here. This is another crossover episode. Very exciting. This is a crossover episode with the podcast XO HigherSelf from Bunny Michael. And I got so much out of making this podcast and my conversations with Bunny, and been working on it a while because it does involve like asking for help and Bunny's listeners asking Bunny for help and advice and compassionate responses on how to deal with that. Let me just read from on Bunny's podcast, XO HigherSelf. Bunny answers the listeners' advice questions and guides them to their higher self, the manifestation of love within all humans deconditioned by the limitations of ego identity. No topic is off limits as Bunny flips the listeners' perspectives and inspires self-compassion beyond cliche self-love rhetoric. You can submit questions and voice memos, and you can find out more. If you search XO HigherSelf in your podcast app, you can use the link in our show notes, or you can go to bunnymichael.com. That's bunnymichael.com. And this is the XO HigherSelf podcast. And I talk a little bit more about it on the episode coming in here, but it is sometimes this is some stuff that some listeners may find a little bit intense, but I've made it very bedtime friendly. And I've tried to be as respectful as I can to the key messages from the listeners of Bunny's show asking for help, or the listeners of Bunny's show reaching out, and Bunny's responses. And then some places where I was able to identify with a lot of stuff. So if this kind of show isn't for you, you're welcome to skip it. But I really found it like listening to the episode over and over and over again to prepare. And then I read through the transcript, and then I went through the transcript as a part of the show or the recording process. And each time I found a new layer I don't know, powerful tools, because it really aligns with where I am on my own journey of healing and growth and really kind of being interconnected to everybody. So it's really important for me to share. I'm really touched and honored, and I hope that comes through in the show. And I hope you get something out of it, and I hope you discover something new by listening to Bunny's show, and you get in touch with your higher self. That's really what it's really about. Thanks so much. All right, everybody, this is Scoots here. Thanks, Scoots, for setting me up there so well. So I'm going to be reading through, and what I'll do is this is all a transcript from Bunny's show, and you'll be able to listen to the original audio on Bunny's podcast. And I will be changing the transcript. If you're a Sleep With Me listener, I'm going to try to keep things respectful, but also, stay true to the original intent of the author or Bunny's answer, but also keep in mind the needs of Sleep With Me listeners at the same time. Plus, I have the magic of editing. So we will see how this goes. And then I'll probably, Bunny, it's a kind of conversation between Bunny and Bunny's listeners, but I may identify with some stuff and just to see what comes up, because I've listened to this audio like 4 or 5 times. And there's a lot I identify with. And I think in a really empowering ways of, thinking about, well, we'll see how it goes. Okay. So, this is from an email. Hi, Bunny. I've been thinking about writing to you for a while now, and I'm glad I'm doing so because I feel pretty stuck. The one I'm dealing with is called, Golden Stuck. Basically, I work in a corporate environment that pays me well, and even though I'm not very happy, I'm compelled to stay because of the salary and the health benefits. And some background on the job, I've been there for 5 years, but I've been kind of checked out for the past year or so. And I should note that my boss and colleagues are really great. And there are times like I still really like the work we're doing, but for the most part, I'm pretty tired of being on 4 to 6 hours of Zoom calls. There's a lot of projects I'm juggling, managing a team of people. And it's a lot at this point in my life. Also, I should note that I'm the mom of a high-energy 4-year-old, and I'm 12 weeks pregnant, expecting number 2. So that means when I get off of work, I shift into mom mode. So it's going from, one running around exhaustion to another. And I'm feeling like I'm too tired to do any of my jobs well. My husband's an artist. He's been running his own business for 15 years. And we've been talking about it, me leaving my job, being a stay-at-home mom. He wants me to be happy, but we're all thinking about, I'm the breadwinner. And we could probably live off his salary, but it'd be a pretty big adjustment to go from 2 incomes to 1, along with the health benefits. And I also worry about what other family members might say, like they feel like I'm being irresponsible. And I started having informational interviews with other parts of the company to see if there's other less demanding jobs. But the idea of starting a brand new job, even if it's more entry level, still sounds, like a challenge. And to be honest, I don't even know what I really want. I don't have the space to think about what's next in any real capacity. I've thought about a sabbatical, part-time options, but, that's also makes me nervous. And what about the team I work with? I know I need to not be so hard on myself, and, we're dealing with the changes in the world since 2020, and being a parent in the last year and a half has been tough. So any help you can provide would be much appreciated. Thank you so much, Bunny. I love the community you've created and really appreciate all you do. And this is Bunny's response. Hey, hon, yeah, you have a lot on your plate, and I think it's really brave of you to admit to yourself something needs to change. Anyone that really cares about you wants you to be well. They want what's best for you. You know how to take care of yourself, and you know the way things are now is not sustainable. And I'm concerned the further you go into pregnancy, the more stressful and exhausted you'll be. And I want to remind you, you shouldn't feel guilty for wanting to work less. Our culture puts so much pressure on people that are socialized as women to be able to handle it all. The job, the kids, keeping up at home. People that are socialized as women who become moms in our society are expected to never complain or be overwhelmed about raising their children. They're expected to sacrifice everything, and they're expected to make it look all easy and pretty on top of that. So it makes sense you're questioning your own needs and feeling worried about being judged. Right now, you have 2 full-time jobs at your place of employment and being a mom, and of course you're tired. Of course you deserve rest. Not only is that the best for you, but it's also the best for your children. And it is not irresponsible to take care of your emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual health. In fact, it's inspiring to make a bold choice to put yourself first before a job or a project. Your heart is speaking to you, so trust yourself. The first step is accepting that you deserve this. Not only do you deserve this, but so does everybody else. Everyone deserves to be able to take care of themselves so they can stay healthy inside and out. So now that we know it's not a question of what you deserve, we can focus on the how. How do you make this work? If you and your husband sat down and tried to figure out what's possible budget-wise if you left your job, what's your spending like now? What are your bills like, and what can you cut out? And how much do you actually need a month? And is it possible to get Medicaid or free health care if your household income lowers? I know it's scary, but a lot of this is because of the unknown. If you actually figure out the exact number, you could realistically weigh your options. Definitely look into what the company can offer you part-time or sabbatical. But you shouldn't feel nervous because you've given them a lot, and they should absolutely try their best to accommodate you the best way you can. We live in a culture that teaches us what we do for a living is who we are, but it's not. It's how we pay our bills. It doesn't define us. And if you need to take a part-time gig that it gives you more time to actually know what you really want in a career, that part-time gig is an absolute blessing. Remember, what's most important in your inner growth is your ability to maintain a relationship with your higher self. That way you are guided by love, not fear. That way you can get inspired and tap into your potential. Set a goal, make a plan. You can do this. Okay, this is Scoots here. My thing is, there's a lot of the feelings I identify with, and then I've seen what the advice Bunny is actually giving out work in my own life, because I had a full-time job and I was making the podcast, and I was also a parent, and I was newly sober, and I only had a couple of years of sobriety, and I had all those things, and actually exactly what Bunny said, someone had to kind of explain to me is why don't you try to see if you could just cut your hours down to 3/4 time at work? Have you budgeted how much you would need to make up for that money and pay your insurance? And then it was like the same thing. But once I got down to halftime, again, just like kind of Bunny explained, I was being guided by my fears and not specifics, or moving through the fear and being guided by love and taking care of myself. And so I was stuck working halftime. I was already had been, even though that was a year long that I reduced my hours down, I was afraid to move past that or even ask, and I really wanted an external solution, like either to lose my job or something else to happen so I didn't have to make a choice. And very similar, I had a conversation with a woman I work with that I look up to, and she said, okay, well, like, what's the biggest sticking point? And for me, it was insurance. And very similar to Bunny, she said, well, what's the exact number you need? And I didn't have an answer because I didn't know. Like, I was basing it in fear. I said, it's impossible. And she said, well, why don't you look up that number? And then she works with a lot of creatives. And she said, in my experience, when people have jobs, day jobs, and creative careers, they're building businesses, usually 3 things happen when they are like at a point with their day job and they're trying to figure out what to do. She said, and this is just for creatives. I mean, it might apply for other stuff. It probably does. She said, either you make a plan and you enact that plan to leave your job, and, and do that in a way that's based in dignity and compassion and love, I guess. And you plan it out with your job, and you do that plan, and you adjust the plan as you need to. She said the second thing is you lose your job. They realize you're not there or you're present, and they let you go. Or you subconsciously do something to cause that. And she said the third thing is you have something else that in your life comes up that is so powerful. And normally, for the most part, it's a challenge and not a positive thing, because that's like, for me at least, a person that lives in fear, usually pain is the way. For me, I'm just talking for me. And she goes, and then you have to come to grips with that because you're reassessing all of your life values in the face of this external event. And she goes, which of those three options would you prefer, to take? Because, if right now you're in a place where none of those, you can choose between those three, which one would you prefer to choose? And I really feel like that in Bunny's answer. Okay, so this is a call, and this is the caller. And again, I'm paraphrasing and gently, shifting some of the stuff, but trying to keep with the spirit of all of this. So anonymous caller, hey, Bunny, I just called and left a short message, but I don't know what to say. I guess it's silly. I'm calling because I have insomnia. And so there will often be times throughout the week, for example, like last night, where I didn't fall asleep and maybe got 1 or 2 hours of sleep. But there's some nights where I won't sleep at all. And when that happens, I have a especially hard time connecting with my higher self the next day, staying grounded. And I don't even know, I just feel like I could be more in autopilot mode, more reactive. And I'm trying to make a conscious effort not to be. I wake up, I meditate, I journal, I think about how grateful I am and how much I have to learn from each and every opportunity that comes that day. And that grounds me. And also things like petting my cat or meditating or talking to my partner, things like that. But when this happens several days in a row, I'm exhausted and it can be especially difficult. And I've been trying to work on this with a therapist, but I'm having some issues finding someone over the past year. And I think I finally found someone that accepts my insurance, and, that's a privilege. And I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully they can help me with some real coping mechanisms. But yeah, I guess I'm asking if you have any advice on ways to stay grounded and calm the mind. The reason why I have such hard sleep problems is I have a lot of racing thoughts and anxieties, ruminating thoughts right when I go to bed that can't seem to shut off. And I feel like even when I ground myself and do these things and try to feel grounded throughout the day, my ego gets super activated and just tells me all these stories about myself and what all these other people must think of me and all these things that don't align with my higher self. And, what I've learned and grown and realized, it's not necessarily true, even if I can't control what others. And this is Drew interjecting. That message got cut off. And I don't know if the person that wrote this message will even hear my part in it or my listener's part in it. But just to normalize things, like I think the people from Sleep With Me, the listeners of Sleep With Me and myself is identified with almost every single thing you said. And I really know how it feels. And it's a lot of my experience in here. So let's go to Bunny. This is Bunny. Hey, babe. Your voicemail got cut off in the end, but I think I got the gist of your question. Your higher self is a perspective of love and compassion. And that means compassion for how you're struggling as well. And that means compassion if you're tired, exhausted, anxious, sad, or in a bad mood. Your higher self doesn't judge you. Your higher self doesn't need you to be perfect. Your higher self understands this path isn't easy. I'm really happy you're going to work with a new therapist on your insomnia, and I'm sure that therapist will give you some really helpful techniques. I'm really happy about that. And it's amazing you prioritize yourself enough to seek out that support. And what your higher self can help you with is simply being compassionate about that process, right? A lot of times when we're struggling and anxious is when we judge our anxiety like there's something wrong with us. Like what we're going through means we're flawed. So then we're laying in bed anxious that we're anxious, and that only adds another level of anxiety that is hard to let go of. Well, what if you noticed yourself going to that place internally and you said to yourself, I'm okay. There's nothing wrong with me, and I'm safe. All these thoughts are temporary. Ask yourself in those moments what your higher self would say, right? When you're lying in bed and can't sleep, think about what your higher self would tell you. What love and tenderness and acceptance would tell you. Have a go to affirmation that rings true to you. One that comes from compassion, not judgment or force to be anything different than where you are in your journey. Surrender to your higher self, fully accepting you, and let yourself off the hook. You are doing everything right. You are getting support, and you will move forward with your healing. You already have a strong practice. You're incredibly self-aware, and you care a lot about how you make people feel. You're an amazing sweetheart, and this challenge is not going to limit you, and it doesn't define you. In fact, it's paved the way for you to see a therapist, which will help with lots of things you want to work on, not just your insomnia. The techniques you will learn to help quiet your mind, and not just for sleep, but to be more present in all of your daytime. I know you're going to do great, babe. You got this. And I just want to say, like I said, we identified a lot with the caller, and there's a lot in here from Bunny's advice that is very powerful. And again, I've seen work in my life and that I struggle with in my day-to-day life at bedtime and in the daytime. But the idea of like kind of letting, like having other thoughts, right? Like from your higher self that doesn't judge you, that has compassion, that's kind of alongside the other thoughts, the anxious thoughts, because that happens to me a lot during the day or bedtime. And the whole idea that your higher self can help you that can be compassionate during the process, because so much of this is about process, not perfection or results. Or at least that's what I found for me again. And then, hey, what if you say to yourself, I'm okay. There's nothing wrong with me and I'm safe. And then the idea that thoughts are temporary and feelings are temporary, that is so hard for me on a daily basis, even though I know that. And where my thoughts and feelings go a lot of times is to that one day place. At least for me, again, speaking for Drew and Scooter, is like one day I'll have the tools, or one day I'll have the partner, or one day I'll change myself in this way. And that's where my thoughts want to go. They want to hook onto these past or present, future non-realities for me. And again, my brain is great at painting these things that are really beautiful or really not beautiful, and saying, well, and so the idea of just grounding yourself, because that's really what I want for myself, and I think for everyone out there. And then hearing Bunny's kind of empathetic response and compassionate response to say, hey, let's find this part of ourselves that is already accepting of ourselves in the moment. Because that is the biggest reward I've found when I get there, is just being myself, who I really am in the moment, and accepting others in the same way. That's kind of the life I want to live, with boundaries and stuff. But you know what you get the gist of it. Okay, so on Bunny's show, this next one has some content warnings, so I am going to be trying to be respectful of the Sleep With Me listeners and get at least to the heart of this question. And, maybe there'll be some editing that you don't hear, but I will be changing stuff around and trying to be respectful at the same time. And again, if you want to check out the original thing, we'll link to Bunny's show too. And this caller calls in and says, it's difficult to know where to begin. It's very fresh. I listened to episode 48, and your response to the voicemail at the end was very touching. And somehow, in a way, I know what this person intended. It's indescribable. they're like, if this just makes you feel better, it touches you, it's like all of that. And I wanted to put my voice into this conversation for a while, but I didn't know what to say. It's been a whirlwind, and I have to remember to take deep breaths, but I know you all are supporting me. And I'm coming out of a really tough relationship and coping mechanisms that were equally challenging. And, different things like different behaviors I wasn't comfortable with and different things I used to help comfort myself. And I've moved away from a lot of that. And I live far away from all that. I live in a town over, but it's still affecting my new relationship and my new partner. And, I had to leave my dog, and it was hard stopping drinking alcohol. And all this puts an extreme amount of weight on my family then, my new cultivated family. And, trying to work things out with my partner and, our different ways of dealing with that. And the whole family dynamic is a lot, and it's a big challenge. And of course, there's underlying, my own stuff. And how much of this is a silent burden to carry? And therapy is wonderful. Yoga, meditating, journaling has been explorative. I love all of that. I love the people I'm with, but it's like all these issues colliding have turned to isolation. And undeniably, like me asking for support of like getting off of social media or is leading to isolation. And I feel like I missed an opportunity for a lot of love I have with this love of mine. And there's a lot of feelings about that, guilt, shame. I think a lot about Brene Brown and what that would be like to just let it all, flow out. And it's challenging with a partner, because I have strong feelings that come up. And I feel like, it's challenging to think about the future with my partner. But what if, and then what if I could let all this go and let them be who they are and trust them with my heart and get past all of the past stuff that's happened? And then if it resurfaces, what do I do if it does? I love you so much, and I hope it touches you too. Thank you, Bunny. Okay, this is Drew. I'm going to probably insert myself a little bit more on this one because I identify with a lot here in this one too, and particularly my own personal. A lot of this relates to my own personal journeys. And I know I put a warning at the top of this episode. So, yeah, and this will be me probably offering. Some of you heard some of my story in older episodes. And so, yeah, I'm going to keep it short, but there is a lot to identify with here. And this is Bunny's answer. Hey, love, thank you for your heartfelt vulnerability. It sounds to me like you need to cut yourself some slack here. You've been incredibly hard on yourself for the fact that you need healing. Everyone needs healing. And you've been through an abusive relationship and used alcohol and other things as coping mechanisms because you couldn't see a way out. And that became a pattern of unhealthy soothing, which had harmful consequences. And now you realize you deserve better than that. And you're also in therapy and doing the work of meditation and journaling. And I know all this can feel emotionally overwhelming. To be having all these realizations, to see your own issues, to realize your triggers, and at the same time, not have a sense of control over them. But baby, you are human and this stuff isn't easy. I want you to find more patience and self-compassion. I want you to repeat these words. My triggers are not my fault. My wounds are not my fault. I am healing myself. I am loving. I am strong. I am enough. We live in a world that is very much in need of healing because abuse and greed and our learned hierarchical beliefs, or Bunny's LHBs for short, have created generations upon generations of misguided disempowerment. To put it simply, we don't know our own worth. And that feeling of lack can have extremely harmful consequences when left unchecked. You are like the rest of us on a path of awakening from this sleep, the sleep of unworthiness. And awakening is not an easy process. It is hard, very, very hard to start actually witnessing yourself, to be accountable to your mistakes, to realize you've hurt people, to want to do better, not because you need to do better, but because you want your behavior to reflect your true self and not your wounds. What you need to stop doing is making all this stuff, all these things you talked about in your voice memo, who you are. When we start having these realizations, it's really easy to start looking at ourselves in the mirror and identify with our past and the hard times from the past. I am this hurt person. I am a triggered person. I've suffered from others' bad behavior. But this is exactly why it's hard for you right now to see a way out. A part of you is like, well, I now realize this is just who I am. It is not. Your triggers are moments of temporary fear. They will always pass. They're not out to get you either. They are pointing out the places where you're still wounded and that you can tend to that wound. Your body and mind are reacting, but you are the witness to that. And you have compassion for those parts of yourself while at the same time trust you are in the process of lessening their power. Every time you forgive yourself for acting out of your triggers in a way that you want to change, you lessen their power. Now, about your relationship, you said you want to trust your partner. Well, that doesn't just happen one day, like I trust them now so I can let them talk to whoever they want or I won't look at their phone. No, it's they can talk to whoever they want. I won't look at their phone, and I will work on my trust issues with my therapist, in my journaling, and in my meditation. Because your trust issues are your own wounds and not your partner's. And your partner is not responsible for healing them for you. They can't love your wounds away, no matter what they do, no matter who they do talk to or don't talk to. Only you can do that. This isn't about them proving themselves to be trustworthy. It's about you allowing yourself to be loved by them. Receiving love takes vulnerability. If you're not in a place where you're able to be okay with your partner having healthy boundaries and friendships, then I think taking some time to focus on your own healing is the path forward. In relationships, you are either in or out. But something is telling me you're really emotional right now because in your heart, you already know what you need to make this relationship work. You realize you're actually capable of it. And that, it's just hard. You've opened the door on your own healing and you can't go back now. Growing takes courage. Love takes courage. Trust takes courage. Healing takes courage. Remind yourself that you're absolutely capable because you're already doing it. I want you to keep going and believe in yourself. Okay, this is Drew inserting himself here. So you identify with a lot in the call and in the answer. And actually I learned a lot because, I've been struggling with, trying to work on my own higher self and my interpersonal relationships and what I bring to those interpersonal relationships. And kind of like I talked with the last answer, like living for me, like I have a disease of perception, right? Where I have a problem with perception. And again, I'm only speaking for myself, Drew, here. And so I have to, like kind of Bunny said, find some other place when those thoughts and feelings come up. And sometimes, and Bunny kind of laid out a very specific way to deal with that, to say, okay, you're having these thoughts, but they're not based in reality. Like I can try to be compassionate for that little kid in me or that scared part of me that just wishes one day if I could do this, this, or this, things would be different. Or if I could just change, I'll go into the lack stuff and next, but if I could change all that stuff, or fix it, or if I could just be somebody else or be not my higher self, but if I could be something else, some different self, like less wounded or whatever, then, I'd be I'd be okay, which just isn't true because all of that is my own internal fiction. And again, I'm only speaking for myself. I'm not giving anybody any advice. I just want to share with what I'm identifying with. And so there's that piece. Another piece for me, and I'm not speaking towards the caller, but for anybody that will connect with this, because the caller did not identify as an alcoholic, but I am alcoholic. And I say that because there's a difference between abusing alcohol and being an alcoholic. And you kind of go on another journey of discovering that for yourself in the healing process and getting better. And when Bunny said lack, like a lot of times when I share about my alcoholism with other alcoholics or people struggling to get sober, that's one of the things that comes up for me is like this lack that I've always had. And that's such an apt word. It's one of the words I do use to describe what it was like for me and like what it's still like for me, and how it wasn't what made me an alcoholic, but it was one of the things alcohol did for me was to make me numb to that lack and give me some ease and comfort in the face of that lack, or to step to the side of it. It didn't make it better, clearly. It made things worse, and it came with a lot of consequences and a lot of life unlived, and of not being my higher self, or even of making my world about providing me ease and comfort. And for me, 12-step recovery has been a big part of that, and it has never, it's not easy, like kind of Bunny says with some of the other stuff. I'm going through that process again. And that's something that's pretty easy to find wherever you are and online nowadays. But for me, working the 12 steps of recovery with someone else, it has really changed my life. And maybe if you listen to the show, you may have noticed, or maybe not, but even during the pandemic, my life outside of the show has changed because of that, of returning to saying, hey, I have to actively be working on this. And again, in the spirit of what is my higher self? I want to live in the present moment and be available to be compassionate and care for myself, or have this higher self that's there for me and for other people in acceptance and love. That's really kind of what I'm looking for. And for me, that's only one of the things. I also meditate, I journal, I work with a therapist, I have quiet moments, I talk to my higher power, all those things. But for me also, it is for me essential, I don't know. And it's always worth discovering. Again, you can try paths and see where they go. But so anybody that's identifying with what I'm talking about, I cannot tell you, if you're struggling with that kind of stuff, that the 12 steps of recovery really have changed my life too. And it's one more set of actions, I guess, versus my thoughts and feelings, kind of like these other things that Bunny's offering are actions you can take in the moment. And that's just one more set of actions I have on a daily basis I can take when my thoughts and my feelings come up to say, oh, okay, I'm okay, and my higher self is there to accept me as I am. But so I don't identify with my thoughts or my feelings as who I am. In that I can also identify with my actions or my higher self. So a little bit of a big Drew insertion there, but it's really been important to me to share about sobriety in any way I can, because I know it's something that's out there, and you can always reach out to me through the website form on the podcast website if you're struggling with that. And that also that's just my identification. Again, I'm not projecting it onto the person, the answers or the questions. It's just what I identified with, and some of the path. I don't know, just what I identified with, and some of the stuff that's actually changed my life. Okay, so the next caller, it comes in. Hey, Bunny, I was calling because I had a question. I don't really know if a lot of people feel the same way. But I think it'd be really helpful to get some insight on it. I'm the type of person who's very spiritual, does a lot of spiritual practices. I'm able to lucid dream, astral project pretty much whenever I want to, which is fun. But sometimes I feel a bit blindsided, maybe. I'll have dreams sometimes, like pretty meaningful, or they have meaning to it. And I have a tendency to believe absolutely everything I dream about. Or for another example, I tend to believe like every tarot reading I get. I don't know if gullible is the right word, but maybe just not trusting myself fully when I have a dream or when I have a tarot reading or when someone gives an opinion about me, I'll believe it. And then I'll nitpick it and try to find the truth or obsess over it, and it can take over my mood. And I don't like living that way. But I don't know how to retrain my brain not to believe like absolutely every dream I have and every tarot pull I get. And I just want some guidance with that and know how to trust myself so that little things like that, aren't as so much of a challenge and I'm not overthinking it throughout the day. Thank you. So I definitely identify this, particularly with the dreams or other people's opinions, and then that causing spiraling thinking. This is Drew talking. That is definitely a challenge for me. And I love the answer here. I guess I'm front loading it because I have that same issue with the dreams and meaning. And Bunny gives us this spectacular thing that's so helpful to me. Because again, if you heard my last answer, it's all about me. That's one of the things we struggle with I struggle with between my higher self and my ego and all that other stuff is I want it to be less about me. But, so I'm laughing because it's just so funny how able to spend it about me. Okay, this is Bunny's answer. Well, it's understandable that you're searching for guidance. That's not a bad thing. It's great to get tarot readings. It's great to examine your dreams, and all of those are practices that can help you be more in touch with who you are beyond this human form and get more into your spirit. The thing is, though, the goal of a spiritual practice isn't to know everything. It's to be okay in the unknown. It is to be present with who you are right now and to fully love and accept yourself. So although tarot can help you get a glimpse of your path in the future, help you understand some of your past, the real intent of it, which is the intent of all spiritual practice, is to find inner peace through the awareness of love, through the realization that you lack for nothing and that you are whole and a part of a divinely interconnected universe. Your reality is a reflection of your state of consciousness. So if you go into a tarot reading in the consciousness of you needing some answers in order for you to accept yourself, you're going to project all of your fears and lack onto that tarot reading. And if you go into a tarot reading grounded in your higher self, the knowledge that you are whole and loved by the universe just how you are, then you will experience the reading as just another message of love. Each card awakening more acceptance of who you are, including the things you are still working through, including your wounds, including your gifts, including every aspect of what makes you you. Lucid dreaming and astral projection are also reflections of your state of consciousness and self-acceptance. For example, if you're interpreting a dream, that interpretation can be from the perspective of your higher self or from the perspective of your ego, your learned hierarchical beliefs. So what if you were lucid dreaming and you saw a rose in a vase and it was dying and the petals were falling on the floor? Okay, that's a strong symbol. Now, if you interpret meaning onto your symbol, your state of consciousness could create totally two different meanings. If you are not grounded in your higher self, the knowledge that you are enough and you have always been, you might see this rose as a future loss, and that can make you feel troubled and afraid that you're going to lose something, and that could be devastating to your sense of self. But because your higher self knows you are whole and loved, your higher self would interpret that symbol as losing what no longer serves you. Do you see how those two interpretations can make you feel completely different about yourself and your future? My point is that we are so focused on figuring ourselves out that we forget our spiritual journey is guiding us to simply be one with love. That is the source that connects all these practices and all these modalities. If you get too caught up in the tools to get there, then you will miss the goal. Gifts like astral projection or tarot or other forms of magic doesn't make you more aligned with love. Anyone can use magic for whatever intent they see fit. Magic in service of the ego happens all the time. Someone's opinion can be in service of their ego. That is why focusing on connecting to your higher self through meditation or journaling or whatever ritual feels right for you will keep you in the right state of mind to use what helps you love yourself and leave the rest. You can trust in your own guidance. That's definitely a message I needed to hear. So I don't really have anything to add other than there's so much there for me and maybe some of you to take, I don't know, but even the dream stuff was saying, oh, is this dream my interpretation of it in service of my ego and what I want now that might bring me something in the future? Or what if it's from my higher self? Because I had some powerful dreams lately and it's like, oh, from that perspective, maybe it's not about my lack and my need and this filling my lack. And could be more about compassion and love and service or whatever. Okay, the following question's from email. This is a question again. Hey, Bunny, hope you're well. Love watching your Instagram stories of you, your partner, and your friends building your new home. So excited. I'm married to someone I love, and the true love is scary. I've never been in a relationship that was so emotionally available, supportive, compassionate, or affectionate. I haven't had great relationships in the past, and a couple of my past relationships have ended in a tough time. But these happened so long ago that those relationships seem to be coming up in my marriage and my dreams. And having experienced those, I've developed trust issues and trust with my partner, and I feel like I'm not giving them all of me. And I keep having these tough dreams about my romantic relationship, and I can't seem to shake them. They've popped up here and there over the 2 years. But this week they keep coming up again and again and again. And I tell my partner about the dreams, and it makes them tough on them. And they usually reassure me and listen to me. And it kind of feels silly that my dreams are affecting me, but they are. And I don't know what to do to help. If you have any recommendations, that would be amazing. And Bunny has another great answer. Things about dreams is we only tend to put importance on the ones that scare us. So like if you dreamt about eating ice cream nude on the moon for the past 4 or 5 nights, you wouldn't be writing me saying, Bunny, what does this mean? Our minds are very powerful. Our imaginations are endless. And so when we dream, we can experience a whole spectrum of realities, both pleasant and unpleasant. What I think will help you is to stop putting so much importance on those dreams. Yeah, you have a subconscious that shows its face, but that is not who you are or a testament to what your future holds. It's like the thoughts we have throughout our day. Take, for example, our insecure, jealous thoughts, our untrusting thoughts you experience. We have a choice to take those thoughts at face value or to observe them with the understanding. Okay, there's a reason why you thought them, but that doesn't mean you have to believe them. You give them their power over you. You don't have to be afraid of them. It's wonderful that your partner is so supportive and reassuring, but be aware of making this an issue unnecessarily. The truth is you do trust your partner. You wouldn't have married them if you didn't. And yeah, there's still stuff from the past, but don't sell yourself short on how much you've grown. You know you can trust them no matter what your dreams are. And I don't want your partner to interpret these dreams as you not trusting them. If you didn't trust them, you wouldn't be in this relationship. You wouldn't be giving them the love that they're receiving. You wouldn't be vulnerable with them. You wouldn't be happy right now. You wouldn't be saying this marriage is true love, right? All of the vulnerability and honesty that you've given this relationship is a tangible testament to how much you've grown and how much you trust your partner. So don't create a problem where there isn't one. Bad dreams happen. I have dreams that are tough too, but are they true? Most likely not. Does it suck? Yes. Do I have control over what I dream? No. Do I have to let them get me down and stoke my fears? No. One thing you could practice saying is, which is something I do when I've been in a phase of having bad dreams in a row. Before I go to sleep, I say, I am safe. I am loved. Dreams can't hurt me. And that really helps me be at peace. And I notice it helps me have a more peaceful sleep. You can call in the help of your higher self. You can call in the help of your inner love and your inner light. No matter what comes your way, you are protected through love, and that's your power. You are not weak, you are strong, and your strength is within you. I'm wishing you the best in your marriage and your relationship and your happiness. Enjoy it, Just enjoy what you are. And don't put too much importance onto your fears. We all have them. We all have fears. We all have wounds. But it doesn't have to define us, okay? Say your affirmations before you sleep, and it'll be very helpful. All right, the next one is a call coming in. Hi, Bunny. Thank you so much for your beautiful podcast. It really is truly such an uplifting experience to listen to. I'm calling in because I guess my question is that I tend to be a very busy person. I always have a lot of creative projects going on. I'm the type of the person who would rather work like four part-time or freelance jobs rather than put all my energy in one project. And I do find I flourish more under these conditions, but I also tend to notice that I'm trying to keep all these things in balance constantly because there's always so much going on. And I enjoy the multitasking and like the creativity of it, but I'm also finding that I might kind of be adding on more all the times as a mean of escaping free time, if that makes sense. So part of me always craves free time, but when I have it, I just fill it with more projects or collaborations with people, which is exciting. But sometimes I just miss having the chance to sit there and, just see what, feel like doing, like reading a book or taking a nap. I just feel like I don't ever have time for any of that stuff. And I'm wondering, I guess, how to find a happy medium where you're a creative person who thrives on this multitasking lifestyle, but still have the time for stillness and quiet and peace. Thank you. I appreciate it. And Bunny's answer comes in. I can totally relate to this as a person who has always wanted to be busy and doing creative things and working with other people and having new projects online. The way I look at creativity or artistic expression is that everyone is a channel for their divine creative energy. And the art and projects and ideas we produce are shaped by our experiences as an individual. But it is essentially the same divine creative energy that we all channel. It's just our stuff ends up looking different because we are different and we've had different experiences and we can have differences in opinions and perspectives. So when I remember that, even though I make art or I use my creativity or to write or draw or whatever I'm doing, I'm not doing it alone. I'm just a channel. It is coming from another realm of consciousness, the same realm that is the creative force of the universe. Creativity is a spiritual practice, and so when we don't take the time to be in stillness or quiet our minds, and even just rest, we're missing out on that sacred time where we plug into that divine source, where we reconnect with the part of us that is connected to this one divine consciousness. Our spirit, our higher selves, or whatever word you want to use. Being still makes you more present and awakened to the blessings and inspiration that is around you. Being still helps you become more aware of your thinking and less caught up in it. It gives you perspective and you become a witness to your own journey. Our minds are just a tool for us to get from point A to point B. We cannot function without our thoughts. But we can also get caught up in them. So caught up, we lose touch with who we are beyond our thoughts. That's why meditation is so important. It's a practice to become the witness to your thoughts, to observe them and then to try to quiet them. Those practices help you throughout the day, even when you are not meditating, to be more present in the moment. And that's when you can create more purely. You're not caught up in self-judgment or ego or comparison. You just have to be fully present to be that channel for creativity, that channel that recognizes you don't need to be anyone but yourself. It's a myth that there's no such thing as good art or bad art because art and creativity is self-expression. And the reason why we continue to judge art as good or bad is because of our learned hierarchical beliefs. It's because we see human worth as something as being more worthy, some human beings as being more worthy than others. But if we recognize that everybody's voice mattered, that everybody's experience mattered, that everybody was worthy, we would see the beauty in everybody's creations. That doesn't mean you have to want everybody's wall art hanging on your wall, because we do relate to things more than other things. But, if there's really something you're drawn to, it's because you can relate to it. It's because you can recognize a familiarity in the piece. It touches a part of you that feels very personal, and you feel moved by somebody else's work. Being moved or inspired by somebody's work that is moving or inspiring to you, it doesn't mean others is bad. So my point is that rest and stillness are so important for you, not just for your mental, emotional, and spiritual health, which is absolutely vital to your happiness, but it is immensely important for your creative practice. So the next time you're debating, and I really relaxed right now, now I should get still, should I take a break? Tell yourself, I need to give myself what I need. It will help me in every aspect of my life. I identified with a lot in there, but I'm going to move on to the next call because it was just so good. I don't need to add anything. This is another caller. Hi, Bunny. I recently discovered the show and I love it, but I'm a person who struggles with BPD, and I know a lot of people who don't struggle with this. But even though these months of being alone with myself, I find I really don't know who I am. And I was wondering if you had any ways for me to connect with my sense of self. That would be great. Thank you. And then Bunny comes in, and if you're with me, this is really, there's some really powerful answers, but this one is really powerful, right? Well, you haven't heard it yet, so I'm saying it. I really identified with the answer, and this is going to carry us out to the end of the episode. So this is Bunny. Oh, that was Drew speaking. Sorry. This is Bunny. One of the surest signs that you are getting to know yourself on a deeper level is when you feel like you have no idea who you are anymore. Because what is happening is the parts of you that used to define yourself are no longer sufficient. I have a meme that says, me, I don't know who I am anymore. And then your higher self says, you're just so much more than you thought you were. The truth is, no words can fully describe who we are. On one level, if someone asks you, who are you? You might say, my name is blah, blah, blah. I work at blah, blah, blah. I'm blah years old. My ethnicity is blah, blah. I deal with this mental health diagnosis. I dealt with this in childhood. My goals are this. And the list goes on and on and on. On the surface level, those things are personality, our psychological traits we can use to define us. But do they encapsulate the wholeness of who we are? No, they don't. Because on a deeper level, we are spirits having a human experience. We have been sent here in the form of these bodies to bring more love into the world. How do we do that? By realizing that love is truly who we are. When we identify with our higher selves, i.e. our spirit, we are making conscious that truth. We are bringing love into the world by becoming more conscious of love's presence. How do we do that? We use all of our human experiences, our trauma, illnesses, suffering, privileges, emotions, experiences, our thoughts. We use them as a portal, an opening to our own self-realization. The place of being with capital B. We are like, what do you mean I'm love? I need something concrete, something tangible to hold on to. I need proof of who I am. Did you know that we see the shapes of the form, like the chair I'm sitting on or the phone you're listening to? What you see as a solid shape is actually a projection of your thoughts. You don't actually see the chair. You see all of your past experiences and judgments of the chair, where it came from, how it got there, if it's pretty or not. If you want a new chair, in order to fully see the chair, you have to be completely present in the now. You have to see it as itself and not how you relate to it. It's the same with knowing ourselves. We just have to be present with ourselves, not to find the words that truly define us, but just be with ourselves, the place where words can't sum it up. The more you do that, just get quiet and be, you will feel who you truly are. And when something like the past couple of years happens, when the things we used to identify with are suddenly in question, it's like a jolt, a shot of energy in the direction of being. Now we are confronted with something deeper, something magical, something indescribable, something unnameable. I use the term higher self because it's a higher level of awareness, but those words higher self will never come close to the actual experience of what higher self is. That is who you are. You are witness to the experience. It's not anything to be afraid of. It's not something to do right or do wrong. It just simply is. And when you surrender to it, it is the safety you are longing for. So this is Scooter. I just drew saying thank you to Bunny. Thank you to everybody that wrote in and called into Bunny's show. I hope that some of you related and got some comfort and maybe even some actionable steps out of this. Good night. Good night, everybody. Thanks. All right, I want to thank everybody who signed up for a newsletter to help the Midnight Mission and people experiencing homelessness. I can't tell you how much just taking that simple free action to sign up for a newsletter really means to me. It means so much to me. So I thank you so much to those who signed up for the newsletter. We're going to have a lot of fun. I want to thank Elizabeth, Alsace, TL, JH, Lynn, Sherry, Haley, MLN, Joni, and Ginger, Rochelle, Mary Lee, Victoria, and Michael. Thank you all so much. If you're hearing this, you want to sign up. It's a free newsletter to help people experiencing homelessness. I'm going to be doing read-alongs, listen-alongs, tons of fun stuff. And you can sign up at sleepwithmepodcast.com/badmagic. Or any of the other URLs you hear me listing. It doesn't really matter. They all go to the same place. So thank you so much for participating in the heart of the show. I really appreciate that. And I couldn't do it without the people that are involved with the podcast on Patreon, who support the show by paying for a free podcast, and who support our sponsors and let our sponsors know about it. The people you hear about in the Sleepy Supporter Zone. That's really how we're here, free for you twice a week. And, I really appreciate it. If you want to spread the word about podcasting in general, that's a great thing to do. Let people know about how you use your app and stuff like that. No pressure. If Sleep With Me works for them, they'll eventually find it. And that's it. That's it. Yeah. We've got a couple Tuck You In sponsors. I think we're over 460 something episodes in the free feed. Thanks to these Tuck You In sponsors and all the sponsors that support the show.